Okay, good evening. We're going to cover today the last part of chapter, no, sorry. We are going to cover today perek 8, which is the 8th chapter. Um, and then I will move on to next lesson will be on Mesilat Yesharim. Okay, so in perek 8, the way the Ramchal is teaching us the way to acquire zerizut. So first, to recap, last lesson we learned that there are two parts to zerizut: before performing a mitzvah and during the performance of a mitzvah. And whoever worked during his lifetime on zerizut is rewarded in Olam Haba with Gilui HaShekhinah, which is revelation. Means that Hashem gives the possibility to that neshama to understand more than the neshama would otherwise be capable to. One can cultivate zerizut when performing mitzvot. So that was to recap. Now, in this chapter, the methods by which we acquire zerizut are the same as the ones for acquiring zehirut, being careful. They are very closely related to each other, zerizut and zehirut. The only difference between them is that zerizut applies to positive mitzvot, what is called a positive mitzvah. For example, eating matzah, putting on mezuzah, putting on tefillin, such mitzvot. It means that we are taught to do things. And zehirut, which is to be careful, applies to negative mitzvot. For example, don't light fire on Shabbat, don't speak lashon hara, don't steal, don't kill. So anything that is don't, not to, that's a negative mitzvah. However, in the practical sense, zehirut and zerizut are different because the focus of zehirut is to avoid an avera, a sin. And the focus of zerizut is to grab a mitzvah, the opportunity of a mitzvah. But essentially, each of these traits involves going beyond our limits of the physical nature and give of oneself to Avodat Hashem. So both cases, zehirut and zerizut, both of them really, it's work. It's asking us to actually work on our traits. Each of them may be attained through one's physical mission, a spiritual mission. When a person who engages in contemplation, in thinking these matters, then he attains recognition of the truly great value of the mitzvot. I mean, when we think and then we actually realize what mitzvot are actually for us, it gives us a purpose in life, it gives us understanding of what we're doing by learning about the mitzvot. And at the end, as we learned, we get to Olam Haba. And also the enormity of the obligation to perform them. At the same time, as much as mitzvot are excellent for us, are something very special for us, but at the same time, we realize that we do appreciate the mitzvot, but we also do appreciate the fact that it is a responsibility. In other words, once we realize and recognize the value of the mitzvot, the benefits of the mitzvot, getting closer to Hashem, which is the best of the mitzvot, right? The best benefit of the mitzvot. And the balance of the world, as we learned, if you remember at the very beginning, we learned about how each mitzvah is weighs into the balance of the world, or every avera. And the realization that Hashem has commanded us to keep these mitzvot. This is His will. That's where why we say there is a responsibility, because it's the king who's commanding, and we are the subjects of the king, so we have got to follow the commandments. We have got to fulfill the will of the king, and we must follow his commandments as he is the king. This knowledge will certainly inspire us to perform the mitzvot with zerizut and zehirut. Another way to inspire us is to be diligent, right? Ramchal says, what can intensify this inspiration? What can make the inspiration stronger? I want to be inspired because I want to be more careful with my mitzvot, and I want to do them with diligence and complete them, bishlemut, right? So what's going to make this inspiration stronger? So the Ramchal says it is to focus on all the chesed, the kindnesses that Hashem does for us every single day, the whole day, at all times, every moment of the day, from the day a person is born until he dies. The more a person focuses on these matters, the more one will recognize his great debt to Hashem, who is so good to him. So what's going to inspire me? Really, gratitude. Thinking and realizing how Hashem brought me into this world, even before I was born. Making sure that I was formed in my mother's stomach. Making sure that everything was good inside my mother's stomach, that nothing went wrong. And then I was born, and Hashem took care of me from the moment I was born until today. There's so much kindness that went on, and it's still going on. That alone should be enough of an inspiration. So gratitude. These thoughts will be the means to prevent a person from becoming lazy in the Avodat Hashem. So we need to remember this. Since a person cannot pay back Hashem, he should at least thank him and fulfill his mitzvot out of hakarat hatov, out of gratitude. How can I thank Hashem? By really doing what Hashem is asking me to do. Out of gratitude, because Hashem has been so good to me. Actually, a couple of days ago, I heard of a simple man who every day, he was not a rich man at all, but every day he would take a few pennies, and every day he would put them in the tzedakah box. And for each penny, he would put 3 or 4 pennies, and he would say, thank you for my children, thank you for my health, thank you, whatever it is. Every day he would say thank you, and he would put money in tzedakah, which is a beautiful thing to do, but that shows gratitude. This is what David HaMelech said in Tehillim. How can I repay Hashem for all his kindnesses to me? I will raise a cup of wine and thank Hashem. Kos Yeshuot Esa uvshem Hashem Ekra. With all my heart, I will give honor to your name, Hashem, forever. For your kindness to me is great, and you saved my neshama from Gehinnom. How did Hashem save the neshama of David HaMelech from Gehinnom? By giving us the mitzvot. Hashem is saving each and every one of us. Out of love, Hashem has given us 613 mitzvot. Out of love, because Hashem wants us to go to Gan Eden, to Olam Haba. There is no person, whether rich or poor, healthy or sick, who does not experience many kindnesses and wonders from Hashem in his situation, for which he must be grateful to Hashem. A wealthy person thanks Hashem for being wealthy, for Hashem making him successful. A poor person thanks Hashem that he is able to provide for him even in his poverty. Hashem provides him with his parnasa in a miraculous way. And Hashem does not let him die of starvation. The sick one is also obligated to thank Hashem for keeping him alive despite the severity of his illness. We're not talking here, obviously, of someone who passed away or just about to pass away, someone who is on the verge of passing away. It's life. Each one of us are born, and there's a time to be born and a time to die. But as long as a person is alive, the person has got to say thank you, even a sick person. No one can say that Hashem owes him anything. Not riches, not family, not wealth, not health, nothing. We learned that when Moshe prayed to Hashem to be allowed to enter Eretz Israel, he asked for permission as a gift, not as a compensation for his great deeds. Moshe didn't say, Hashem, I did so many mitzvot, I took care of Ben Israel, I did so much. Well, that counts for nothing? No. Moshe said, please Hashem, as a gift, as a matana, allow me to go to Eretz Israel. Man is indebted to Hashem no matter what his status is. This realization is in direct conflict with man's tendency to take good things for granted. Yeah, we take good things for granted. But even though, we take them for granted, but we still have got to remember it all comes from Hashem, our success, whatever we have, family, a home, whatever it is that we have, trips, whatever that we have, it's all from Hashem. And for that, we have to say thank you. Those who are well off physically and financially attribute the success to their own hard work. So some people say, well, I'm wealthy because I work very hard. No, that's not true. You're wealthy because Hashem wants you to be blessed with wealth. That's why you're wealthy. You are intelligent, it's because Hashem wants you to be blessed with intelligence. Of course, there's the responsibility that comes with these blessings. But that's it. Nothing comes from us. Those who have troubles, blame them on Hashem. They do not thank him for the good that he gave them because they are focused on what they don't have and they are focused on their troubles. Ramchal teaches us to be grateful regardless of one's situation. This is very important. When everything is good, we say, Baruch Hashem, everything is good. Chas v'shalom, when things are bad, then what? We start to complain. Hashem, you forgot me. Hashem, you left me. Hashem, why did you do this to me? I don't deserve it. And we go on and on. But instead of focusing on the negative, Ramchal is telling us, focus on what is good, the good that you have. Even when things are not working, there's still something that is good. And for that, I would like to really tell you a story, a true story. This is a person that I actually know, and she told me her story herself. And this is the story. I had to change names and places, but this is a story. I'll call this woman Sarah. So Sarah lived in Venezuela, And she was engaged to someone who lived, let's say, in Paraguay, and they were supposed to get married within 3 or 4 months. So, like every bride, every kala, she was getting ready for it. And then, about a month before her wedding, she got very sick. She had to go to the hospital, and she stayed in hospital for close to 3 weeks. She had meningitis. Now, her parents, when they realized how sick she was really very, very, very sick. They contacted the parents of the Khatan, and they told them, you have no obligation to to go on with the wedding. This is what's going on. Her situation is very serious, and we don't know if she's going to come out of it. And even if she does, we don't know if she's going to be affected or not. So you do not have to go on with the wedding. The Khatan said, absolutely not. I still want to get married to her. So about maybe 10 days left to her wedding, she came out of the hospital. But before she came out of the hospital, her father received a phone call. And the man who was speaking to her father said to the father, your daughter is very, very lucky, because we wanted to kidnap her. But she's so sick, it's not worth it for us. But we wanted to kidnap her and demand a ransom from you. But don't worry, we know you have two sons. We will come after those 2 sons. So you can imagine how the father felt when he heard this message. He married off his daughter, not where he meant to, in a different place. And then she moved to Paraguay. Everything was done very quietly. She moved to Paraguay. And within a week, also after her wedding, her father called her up and said, it's just too dangerous for your brothers and your mother to stay here. I'm sending them to you. And that's what happened. So because of her sickness, which was really something really terrible, she was actually able to save her life and her brother's life and her mother's life. So you see how it was terrible. How did the parents feel at the time? Oh, something like this, how can something like this happen? Hashem, how can you do this to us, right? But if it wasn't for her getting sick, and so sick that even the kidnappers didn't want to have anything to do with her, they would have kidnapped her. Who knows if she would have been able to get married, ever. Or maybe, who knows if they would have let her go. So you see how she was actually saved because she got sick. So we do have, even though sometimes things happen and we're not too happy about what is happening, there are troubles or whatever, but we still have to say, thank you, Hashem. The ways of Hashem are really wondrous. They are so wonderful. Not always we are aware of the wonders of Hashem. Hashem had to make her sick, right? As I explained. All this just to save her. The Ramchal ends this chapter by giving us a brief summary and says that there are 3 levels of zerizut. 1, for those with a good perspective, the inspiration, the will from their viewpoint of their obligation of the mitzvot. They must perform, right? So there's these people, they know they have the responsibility and they want that closeness with Hashem, and they want to do this. That's the first level of the zerizut. And knowing that a mitzvah brings a person closer to Hashem, and as an avera, chas v'shalom, puts a distance between Hashem and the sinner. Number two, the second level, for those on the lower level, the motivation will come from the viewpoint of their future position in Olam Haba. So such a person will not suffer embarrassment. Such a person is scared, said, what, I'm going to go to Olam Haba, I'm going to be so embarrassed, right? The day of judgment, I'm going to be judged. What's going to happen to me? It's such a big embarrassment. I don't want that to happen to my neshama, and that person will learn to be more diligent. The third level, when he'll see what he could have achieved. Sorry, the embarrassment is because the day of judgment, this person will see what he could have achieved when he was alive, and that's the biggest embarrassment. The third level, the motivation will come from the fear of punishment of Hashem for their averot that they did. This is the third level of, I'm so scared, I don't want to be punished, so I would rather, it's better for me to do the mitzvot. So Chachamim teach us, when the neshama goes up to Hashem, Hashem asks a few questions. Number one, did you learn Torah? Number two, were you honest in your dealings? Were you honest? And number three, why are you not so and so? For example, me, Ruti Afriat, why you were not Ruti Afriat? Ruti Afriat, I gave you so many talents. I gave you so much. This is who you should have been, and you are not there. Hashem is not going to ask me why I did not become Sarah or Rivka. I didn't get the talents of Sarah Imenu or Rivka Imenu. I only got my talents, my capabilities. Hashem says, I gave you those capabilities, I gave you those talents, and this is who you should have been. So that should really be something to inspire each and every one of us, knowing that we need to make sure that we become the person that Hashem wants us to become, and not let Hashem down. So this is it. This is for today's lesson. May Hashem help us fulfill our obligations with simcha and zehirut and zerizut. In the zehut of this learning, may Hashem bless us with baracha, hatzlacha, beriyut, panasa tova, simcha, nachat, shalom, zivugim, chen, chesed, verachamim. And that we should be able to fulfill His will like our will.